almost ready here. Oh boy. Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Monday in the Riv. And after a pretty exciting, I guess, weekend nationally, with the Democrats doing it again, calling riots when things are being burned peaceful, and saying we're having a civil war because Trump's not allowing radical and some of them professionally paid rioters to uh, assault federal agents. It's a travesty. Uh, and Newsom saying it's civil war. No, it's not. You're right. It is a civil war. It's against the civil people who are normal against the idiots, because this is it's out of control. There will be a true civil war at some point in time in this country when people are fed up with this bullshit. So they're arresting illegals. They're doing their job, and then the mainstream media covers everything up. You won't hear these statements on mainstream media. They cover everything up. Mostly peaceful. Cars are being burned. Projectiles are being thrown at agents. Somebody tries to incinerate Jewish people who are demonstrating support for the hostages that are still being kept by Hamas. And they said they're not. They were premature in determining it was a terrorist act. Well, the guy said he wanted to kill them all, free Palestine. He was here illegally, so he incinerates. One of them was a Holocaust survivor, an 88-year-old Holocaust survivor that got burnt. So somebody who says kill the Jews tries to kill the Jews, and they're not sure if it's a terrorist action. That's the mainstream media. All of it. Not one of them. They didn't get into they didn't say, some of them didn't even report this guy was an illegal and had been plotting it for a year. This is not, this country is on a precipice of being destroyed from within by these Democrats who don't care about the law, don't care about the safety of American lives. I will remind all those losers that the preamble to our Constitution talks about domestic tranquility. They are not endorsing domestic tranquility. They're encouraging these things. And the mainstream media is one of the primary causes. They categorically refuse to tell the truth. They didn't even say this guy was an Egyptian here illegally, came here on a tourist visa, overstayed it, somehow was given a work visa, which expired. I mean, the Democrats they're fostering violence. They should throw them all in jail. And I guess Newsom is now daring someone to throw him in since a civil war because he's calling in the military to to protect ICE and allow them to do their job, you could only hope that karma raises its head and some of these protesters are victimized by the people, the very people that they're trying to keep in this country, the murderers and the rapists. You can only hope, but then again, it is what it is. So we've got things on the local scene, plenty of things to talk about on the local scene, but I had to get it. I am sick and tired of watching this crap. I mean, these people are they're nuts. I saw something on X where a woman said she was in favor of killing Trump, Vance, his entire cabinet, and the only way we can have peace in the world is to kill everybody that's associated with Trump, which is what, 77 million voters too. So
something like that.
These people are mentally ill. I mean, I don't know if Trump can build a jail big enough to put every single nutcase that they got in that party, including the ones that were elected to Congress and the Senate, in jail. Well, maybe I'd feel better, but I don't think so. I think that they have to be. They should all be stuck on an island somewhere, because this is crazy.
Well, one of the things that I think is very interesting, I mean, Holman's been on TV and various media outlets several times talking about the need to arrest and the need to support ICE and to stop the mayhem that's going on. That's what I'm going to call it, mayhem. I'm sorry, but burning a car is not a peaceful demonstration. Throwing bricks is not a peaceful demonstration. Okay? And as somebody said, if you want to wave a Mexican flag, go back to Mexico. All right? And that may make me sound like a racist. That may make me sound like, a xenophobe. Well, guess what? I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it.
I'm applauding you. And as we always say, we don't like labels. Xenophobe, racist. That's what a Democrat would call you for saying that.
I know.
You don't have the right to wave American flag in here and support a foreign country when they're having an uprising. Well, I will use their own to show you what a semantic game it is. We always say how what they say, there's always an opposite. One man's hero is another man's terrorist. Well, you're a patriot. You're in favor of waving an American flag. You don't like this country. Listen, these people are fighting to stay in this country illegally, get shit for free, and terrorize people. And the people who are supporting them, and that's the whole fallacy of this whole thing, this due process shit. They don't get due process. That's a constitutional guarantee for Americans. Get locked up in China and see if you get due process.
Exactly.
Get locked up in Thailand and see if you get due process. You don't. They even made a movie about that. I think Richard Gere starred in it. He was a businessman in China who got arrested and framed for a murder. And
right.
There's no due process there. But I don't care about that shit, because what bothers me is we're going to have law enforcement and Americans die because of what the shit that Democrats are stirring. These imbeciles, and the media is covering it up. The media, just like the guy standing up when they were burning down half of Minnesota, saying, "Oh, as the city behind me burns to the ground, these are mostly peaceful demonstrations." As you said, throwing bricks at law enforcement waving Mexican flags in downtown LA is not appropriate. You don't like this country, get your ass out. They told you they'll give you a plane ticket. They're
That's
being
right.
better than me.
And the thing is I don't have a problem with people having a nationalistic pride. Okay? If you're an American, you have American pride. Okay? If you are celebrating, like they just did this weekend in Fall River, Portuguese pride, I expect to see Portuguese flags. But guess what? I expect to see the American flag first and foremost, flying higher than any other flag. And when you don't see that, I have a problem.
Well, I do not. I'm going to give you part of Theodore Roosevelt's speech. This is what's destroyed this country. We became an umbrella. We said, everybody come here, practice the religion you want, do whatever you want as long as it's legal, but mind your own business. And
the thing is you're right. Roosevelt said it right.
We began to
there is no
then
Italian
put conditions on it that certain people could now not be Americans and appreciate what this country was. It didn't matter what country they came from. This is a portion of Theodore Roosevelt's speech. This is what I believe. There is no such thing in this country, Roosevelt said in his speech, for hyphenated Americanism. German Americans, Irish Americans, English Americans, French Americans, Scandinavian Americans, or Italian Americans. There's no such thing as a hyphenated American who is a good American. A good American is a man who's an American and nothing else. You can appreciate your ethnicity, but you have to assimilate into this country. Read the whole speech. The man was a brilliant man, and he understood that. He was a patriot. He fought for this country. He was bestowed the Medal of Honor. He started the national park system. And that's the problem. Everybody wants to be something else too. Well, you can appreciate your heritage. But you got to be an American. In World War II, virtually everybody went to war for this country, and they didn't worry about where their parents came from. They were Americans. Some of them weren't even natural-born Americans. As I said on Memorial Day, every male on both sides of my family, except one individual who had leukemia, fought in World War II for this country, and they were proud to fight for this country. They were first-generation Americans, and when they were buried with American flags on their caskets because they were war veterans. And they were veterans. That's the freaking problem with these loser Democrats. Men can play in women's sports and give them concussions because the little wokies want everybody else to have rights except Americans. It's like in this country. You got to stand in line and take your shoes off in a TSA line, but an illegal can walk right onto the plane. You can't pay your rent. Speaking of that, they just cleared out another homeless encampment in Fall River. Great going, Paul. Screw the homeless. Keep talking about market rate housing. Screw the people. You don't care. You don't care about the people who actually live here. Clean out another homeless camp. And Carol Fiola was on a radio talking about how, oh, well, the mayor of New Bedford used opera money for affordable housing. She didn't mention the fact that Paul didn't use a dime for it. Then she said, well, you know, communities have to pitch in too. The community. Yeah, the community what? Why doesn't the government in the city of Fall River pitch in for affordable housing? What did he do today? What did he do this week? Cleaned out another homeless encampment. Displaced more homeless people.
Right.
So this is the America that the Democrats want. F everybody that wants to be an American. You wave a flag, you're a MAGA zealot. There's something wrong with you if you care about this country. And frankly, I'm fed up to my eyeballs with this shit. Get out and vote, like you said in your weekend flush, which, by the way, I really like that you started out with Plato. That good one. That's a good quote. And I believe that quote was where Sir Edmund Burke, one of my favorite quotes, I think he paraphrased Plato when he said, when good men do nothing, evil will prevail.
That's right.
It's time for the people in Fall River who got their ass out of their house or mailed in a ballot for Donald Trump and made Donald Trump win the election to get their ass to the polls and throw Paul out on his head. And every other counselor, as you referred to, with the Kilby and Hart buffoon show with Joe Camara as the court jester. So, if you think I'm pissed, I'm pissed. I mean, this is outrageous. This is outrageous. Attacking Lauren. You know what they did in Hungary when they laid under the tanks, the Russian tanks once, long before some of you were alive. They ran them over. What did they do? What did the Red Chinese do to the demonstrators in Tiananmen Square? You're bitching about America? These assholes got away with it. Only because of this country. And shitheads like Newsom. They got away with it. Tampon Tim likes Red China. He don't talk about Tiananmen Square. You do this in another country, you get freaking murdered. They'll execute you on the street. The police will open fire. Only in America do these people not only get praised by the mainstream media, their actions are justified by the mainstream media. How convoluted is that? If I'm on a rant, if I'm ranting, I am, because I'm pissed. I mean, when I watch the videos of this stuff, I am absolutely bullshit. So
no, it's and now you've got
the American flag,
and now you've got Newsom turning around saying, "Arrest me, arrest me." The president's making it worse by sending in the National Guard.
Yeah. Well, nobody made anything worse than Newsom. Look at what he's done to California. He's been there forever, and it's the worst state. They've got nothing but they wasted hundreds of billions of dollars and didn't lay 1 foot of rail on the bullet train. All he does, people flew out of California like there was a vapor trail. And they're left with nothing but poor people who can't get out, illegals, and rich elitists who don't give a shit about the real world. Because they don't care how much it costs to live, they can live. All the movie actors, George Clooney doesn't care. Freaking Bruce Springsteen doesn't give a shit. They got plenty of money. And, look how much Newsom cares. You should have been arrested, Governor. You put your entire state on lockdown and would arrest anybody who left their house, and you were in a French Laundry, the most expensive restaurant in the United States, having dinner with all your friends from the freaking medical companies. Pelosi was getting her hair done.
Right.
You walked out of the house in those states and you got locked up, but they're out there playing. Gretchen Whitmer's husband was out on his yacht on the Great Lakes. Don't talk to me, Democrats, you hypocritical son of a bitches, because that's what you are. You're phonies. The law does not apply to you. The rules don't apply to you.
They
Just
never
like
do.
anybody that's with Coogan, they can do anything they want. They get a pay raise. You know, if he doesn't like you, they might hold you accountable. But that's it. Go ahead, CJ. I'm bullshit.
Might hold you accountable.
Yeah. But it's nuts. Carol Filer was on a radio talking about affordable housing and then how, well, they used it. You gotta participate. She never said, what's her husband building? Is her husband building 70 units of affordable housing?
She doesn't turn around and say affordable housing isn't for Fall River. She doesn't talk about her husband saying that.
Yep.
She doesn't talk about her husband entertaining a bid for the Cherry and Webb building for $1.9 million to build 70 market rate units. 70.
Yep.
Isn't that somewhat of a problem? I don't know.
Not for them. Not for them, CJ.
No,
because that's exactly what they want to do. The Democrat, the quote unquote party of the people that the people don't care about. Remember these riots. 78% of the people are in favor of deportation of illegals.
That's right.
And yet the governor, these blue state governors and these blue city mayors like Wu are protecting the illegals at all costs at the expense of the people who they were elected to represent. This is America has gone off the rails in these states. It's just gone off the rails. And unfortunately, Newsom's prediction may come to fruition. There may be at some point a civil war in this country. And it won't last very long, because remember, 78% of the people side with the sanity of taking care of Americans and getting rid of illegals. So if the odds are 78 to 22%, you're not gonna last long when we have the issue. So I'm telling you, this is crazy. I mean, this is crazy. People on the Democratic side talking about democracy. They're the most repressive party in history. Remember when they were in power, they wanted to have the word police. Remember that? Did we forget that already?
Oh, God forbid that anyone
remember. The word police, remember? We got thrown off the air because we weren't saying the right words. So
misogynist.
You're a misogynist, you savage, you.
That's right.
But so Paul's at it again, but he's keeping a very low profile. You notice that. He's just doing his little, because he doesn't feel threatened. He doesn't believe the people of this city are going to get off their ass and vote.
No, that's the problem. They get
comfortable. And you said it in a flush.
Yeah,
clearly.
Get comfortable. They get too comfortable. And let me tell you something. Do you want to see how two-faced this dictator is? He participated in the Pride celebrations last weekend, participated in the raising of the Pride flag after telling students, butch it up or leave. You're not going to graduate. We don't need feminine people here. He said those things when he was the vice principal at Durfee. As a matter of fact, the sad part about it is the Pride Committee chair knew that was happening, but he had to play politics. He had to play politics. And I'll call him out to his face. I'll meet him anywhere and let him know. Because this is what happens. Paul needs the photo ops. And that's where he got the photo ops. And from what I understand, he also took a photo op this weekend with the Cambodian community. Makes for an interesting time. Instead of doing things to save the people, the taxpayer of Fall River, a dime, he sent down a budget at over $500,000. And thankfully, the city council sent it back to him. And they made sure this time they ran it past the corporate council. Well, if we do this, does it stop the clock? If we do this, does it stop the clock? If we do this, does it stop the clock? They wanted to know exactly what to do. And they did it.
No, you're right, CJ.
That's the representation we need.
And just so we can clear the air about, because somebody will now say Theodore Roosevelt was a racist because he said that. Let me read the speech where he talked about and that he talked about people who weren't not native-born Americans. There is no room in this country for hyphenated Americanism. When I refer to hyphenated Americans, I do not refer to naturalized Americans. Some of the very best Americans I have ever known were naturalized Americans. Americans born abroad, but hyphenated American is not an American at all. This is just as true as the man who puts native before the hyphen of a man who puts German or Irish or English or French before the hyphen. Americanism is a matter of spirit and soul. Our allegiance must purely be to the United States. We must unsparingly condemn any man who holds any other allegiance. But if he is not heartily and singly loyal to this republic, then no matter where he was born, he is just as good an American as anyone else. If he is singly loyal to the republic. That's right. Right. The one absolutely certain way of bringing this nation to ruin, of preventing all possibility of its continuing to be a nation at all, would be permitted to become a tangle of squabbling nationalities, an intricate knot of German American, Irish American, English American, French American, Scandinavian American, Italian American, each preserving their separate nationality, each at heart feeling more sympathy with Europeans of that nationality than other citizens of the American Republic. The men who do not become Americans and nothing else are hyphenated Americans, and there is no room for them in this country. The man who calls himself an American citizen and yet shows it by actions that he is primarily a citizen of foreign land plays a thoroughly mischievous part in the life of our body politic. He has no place here, and the sooner he returns to the land to which he feels his real heart allegiance, the better for any good American. He predicted it over 100 years ago. This will be the undoing of America. This crap will be the undoing of America. He was a true patriot. He was my favorite president, followed by Abraham Lincoln. Teddy Roosevelt was a man who understood you have to love this country. This country was created to have German Americans and Scandinavian Americans and everything. But once you got here, you have to become an American. He was an advocate about learning our language. And like he said, we can't become an intricate knot of people who have more allegiance to some other country. And when you start waving Mexican flags and Russian flags and red Chinese flags and Hamas flags in the United States of America, you don't fucking belong here.
Woo! Shit's heated. Foul language. Foul language.
I'm sorry.
I've been worse.
And it's my opinion. And I have a constitutional right to do that.
That's right, you do. And on this show,
far more right than I have to play women's sports.
Do you want to play women's tennis? Is that it?
Yeah. But no, Roosevelt was a man well ahead of his time. He saw what was coming in the United States. He saw, even then, what happens when we begin to have this stuff, and it took the fascists a long time, but they followed the playbook that they always do. What did Marx and Lenin say? Remember when they talked about socialism? Yeah. You get a generation, you teach them the communist ideology. You think them to think like a commie. Then the second generation, you get them into the schools to teach. And by the third generation, you're beginning to put out little Marxists all the time. And here we are 4 or 5 generations down the road, and that's exactly what we got. You look at the venom that's being spewed by Harvard, defending the right to do what they do. You know, defending the right for people to, attack other people. You don't hear Harvard condemning the Egyptian that tried to burn Jews. Isn't it ironic that one of those an 88-year-old woman was a Holocaust survivor? Imagine a woman that survived one of the blackest moments in the history of the world, the Holocaust, was then again subjected to being tried to be burnt by some lunatic here illegally. But let's protect them, Gavin. Let's protect them, Michelle. Let's use our money to give them free health care. They're here for free shit. They're not here to contribute to America. This is the problem. This is the country. Sometimes you go, I wish I was young again. I'm happy I'm closer to the end, because I don't want to see this country, if it keeps going this way, for another 10 years. I mean, hopefully the people are waking up, because 78% of the people, and we don't have 78% of this country that are Republicans or conservatives. 78% of the people understand we got to get rid of this problem with the illegals and begin to refocus on becoming Americans and beginning to actually have a true.
I have a question.
Yes.
You probably won't have the answer. Explain to me, like I'm a 5th grader, why it's okay for other countries, including Canada, to protect their borders. Greece, Russia, Ukraine, France, England. But it's not okay for us. Why is it okay for them to restrict admission to their countries, but not ours?
Well, it is perfectly okay for them. But remember, those countries are not really democracies. They're repressive countries. Remember what Trudeau did to the people in the truckers in Canada? Yeah. Remember what he did to people who tried to exercise free speech? Same thing in England. You can be arrested in England for a Facebook post or a tweet. These people protect their borders because they don't believe in democracy. They want to keep control of their country. The Democrats, who believe just like they do, who wanted you not to have, they wanted the word police, and they wanted you got to do whatever their definition of. They want this country to disintegrate. They intentionally opened our borders to destroy the country.
And they've done a good job so
far.
They
did a great freaking job. If anybody would have told me, and you know I'm a betting man, I like to gamble, but I can tell you one thing. I got a better chance of seeing 600 fours in a row on a crap table than seeing a Democrat tell you that we should have sovereign borders, because they don't believe in it. They want to destroy this country so they can rebuild it like England and Canada. Oh, Canada. Yeah, like Trudeau was an absolute dictator. The truckers, he threw them in jail. You know, England is repressive as hell. It's not a free country. You say the wrong thing over there, the police are knocking on your door for a Facebook post. I mean, people think the United States is unique, people. Maybe most of you never left here. I have seen a lot of the world. And believe me, there is no country like America. There is no country like America. And it should be preserved. Our forefathers brought us a nation that was unique in the world. And now, since we made politics a profession and Democrats became a party of elitists, they want to ruin this country. They want this country to be like the rest of the world. They do not want it to be unique. They do not want it to be the beacon of hope for everyone in the world. They want it to be just like England, just like Canada, where they can tell you what to do. Well, look at was it in New Zealand? She shut the country down.
Yep.
Because somebody left the house during COVID. People think these countries are free. They're not free. You're as free as they want to be. Like a wise man once said, in most of these countries, the only thing free are the plastic bags at the market. That's it. And in some countries, they charge you for the plastic bags. But this is the whole problem. People just can't see beyond how threatening this behavior is, how these people are dangerous. These people are subversives. Newsom is trying to subvert the government. He doesn't want they love the word democracy. They always use this umbrella of, oh, we want everybody to have freedom. You know, when you have it, only people who belong in this country should have the rights of this country. If you violate a law, every society is based on law and order. But you people don't believe in a democratic country or a constitutional republic. You want absolute power. You want to control speech. Remember, if you spoke out against COVID, you were in trouble. They ruined people's lives over that.
That's right.
They ruined people's lives. This is not America. We're not seeing America now in blue states. You want to see America, go to North Dakota, South Dakota, Tennessee, Florida, Texas. You'll see, and even there, they have the enclaves of these maniacs like in Austin, in Texas. But this is scary. And we're seeing it in Fall River. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Coogan doesn't care about how many homeless people we get. We just find an encampment, displace them, and build more market rate housing.
See, here's the problem. Here's the problem behind that. Homeless people aren't going to the polls.
That's right.
So he believes. Okay? Because they're not going to the polls, their voice doesn't matter. Where have we heard that before from Paul? You don't have a voice. You live in public housing. Remember that? Remember, you live in public housing. You don't have a voice. Go buy a house. and then we'll listen. And even then, we won't listen. I own a house. You own a house. We're lucky we get the attention we do from him, if any. If any.
Let us see what our little piece of slice of this puzzle in this disgustingly navy blue state that we live in. Let's see what our council does with the budget. Like I said, there is severe concern about priorities. Just to cut the budget in areas that we need or that don't affect anything that's really, really serious is not adequate. You know, they said, oh, they're worried about healthcare. They're worried about this. How about the $600,000 in jobs? How about the insanity of giving someone a $33,000 a year pay raise in a city where the average income per capita income is $31,988? That's exactly $1,200 more than the annual income. Exactly. Giving people $15,000 pay raises, $18,000 pay raises. I mean, and this is not of a concern. Of course, it isn't a concern to Brad Kilby. Brad Kilby's gonna retire, and he's gonna get a job over in a housing authority, and then get a nice fat 6-figure pension.
Right.
So he's not going to give a shit when he was only entitled to a 5-figure pension.
If that,
yeah. And Hart works for the state, so you know he's on a public dole somewhere. So they'll cut him. You know he's going to get cut at a sweetheart deal.
But here's the thing: Hart works for the state, but when he retires, he's going to retire out of Fall River. You know why? Because he wants the health care. Exactly.
That's right, like they all do.
Right.
That's right.
And that's why I think the law should be changed, that where you have predominantly paid into the retirement system is where you have to retire from. It would release the burden from a lot of people.
You're right. You're right. But what they do is change the rules. They change the rules. It's like now we have a state rep who they helped change the law so he could now get a full pension because he's got a smaller disability pension because he retired decades and decades ago, but he's been a state rep ever since. And now he wants to be able to use his state rep salary. And then after he retires from there, but he's in a Fall River retirement system for the health care. Right. So is he going to get a big fat jump in his pension and still stay in Fall River? Probably.
Of course.
Like they all did. And we can name them all. But, you know, this is the problem we have. They don't care about the average person. And the average person cannot get out of his own way and come to vote. They came to vote for Trump. They got all amped up. He's doing a job of trying to, and look at all the problems he's facing. We got these liberal judges throwing roadblocks in instead of saying, hey, you know, if let's 78%, let's close enough to 80. If 8 out of 10 people want you to build affordable housing, you should be mandated to build it because you should lose every election because you should only get 20% of the vote. Right?
And that's the sad part about it, okay? As much as we need affordable housing, and remember, affordable housing is not public housing. Is not public housing. Okay, Linda? Get this through your thick skull. Affordable housing is not public housing. Hey, Paul, affordable housing is not public housing. Let's make it clear.
All workforce.
All workforce. That's right.
Well, Linda should be very aware of that because Linda was around when our public housing boom was created because the mayor's brother was in charge of the housing authority and he got a bonus based on occupancy.
That's right.
So we had billboards on a Connecticut turnpike saying, you need public housing? Come to Fall River. You had a son-in-law who used to bring him in from Pennsylvania, right?
That's right. Now, here's the worst part about all of this. you've got Ken Fiola cutting a deal with a company out of Boston for the Cherry Web building. Okay? And that's going to be for 70 market rate units. What happens when the market rate market goes under? Chip and I know what happens. We can point to Point Gloria. Remember that?
Yeah. Oh, we remember. Oh, look at that. Yeah. Well, Swampscott's, that's a pretty ritzy place.
That's right.
That's pretty ritzy. Yeah, and that's the problem. If you're rich, you can live in Swampscott, Annalise. Yeah, you're right. Actually, one of my closest friends, who's a big-time attorney and very, very rich, lives in Swampscott. Where else would he live? Marblehead. He used to live in Marblehead, too. Marblehead, Swampscott, those places.
Marblehead's very nice.
Marblehead's a gorgeous community, too.
Yeah, very nice.
Swampscott's a great community. But I mean, the average income in those communities, it's like, but this is what they bring to Fall River, and they wonder why we're homeless, and nobody cares. It's like it's apples and oranges. Listen, you're living in a blue-collar community. People work at McDonald's, who lives, who lives in Newton? All the rich people that work in Boston, and they go out there, and they don't care about prices. It's crazy. So, let's see, and it's
and most of the people in Newton don't rent; they own.
That's right.
So get it right. That's the sad part about it. But we have created our own demise because we have elected Paul Coogan, who brought back Ken Fiola, brought him out of bankruptcy, and now he's selling his building for $2 million for 70 market rate units for a building that's occupied by 67% or something. Where? Who? What? What's there? I don't know.
Yeah, Annalise always makes me work, but I'm working now as we work. 75% of the housing in Swampscott is owner occupied. So there you go.
Great.
And it's 20-some% in Fall River. Okay, let's see. Let's see what the income is. Economy, transfer, income and poverty. Oh yeah, geez, yeah. They're really close to us, man. Our annual household income in Fall River is $53,000. You ready for Swampscott? Fasten your seatbelts, everybody. $128,964. It's 2.5 times more. Okay, and their per capita income, ours is 31 and change. Theirs is 76 and change. So another 2.5 times more. And they got poor people in Swampscott too. They're not all ultra rich, but they're not poor. But their poverty rate is 7%. Ours is 20, nearly 21, 20.9. They do have some poorer people in there. Probably those are the people that are cutting the lawns and stuff like that. But they're crazy. Yeah, they do. Yeah, what they do is, they think they're doing what they're doing, Annalise, is they're doing politics. They're trying to pretend that the problem doesn't exist. By the mere fact that they talk about it, they're trying to make everybody think that implies that they care, which they don't, because they've said it. As CJ said, he said it. I mean, he not only said it, Fiola not only said that, he said it in front of a camera in a council.
That's right.
Meeting.
That's right. And Paul has touted it ever since.
He said it in front of the city council. We don't care. We're not interested.
And Linda turned around and said, we don't need it.
Yeah, well.
And she said it on camera.
Yeah, well.
Because
like I
she
said,
confused
nobody knows better
public
than her.
housing with affordable.
It's disgusting. It really is. It really is disgusting. I mean, when you look at this stuff, it's crazy. And you know what we're looking at here is you get me doing research. I go crazy. You know.
Don't do any more research. We're gonna wrap up.
All right. Well, I just got to get the annual income of Marblehead because you mentioned it. Yeah, Marblehead's richer than Swampscott. Their household income is 165,859. Oh
Yeah.
boy, and their per capita is 94,000. So that's really rich. But yeah, there you go. What did Paul say? He said we had Nantucket rents.
That's right.
Screw it. We got Swampscott and Marblehead rents.
There you go. Well, I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable, because I know they're going to screw you if we don't screw them. Have a great day. See you on Wednesday.